they graduated and what they've done since. And they're gonna give you some tips, one at a time, because they're all different. They're all unique people. They've done a pretty good job since we educated them here.
You learned us good.
That's right.
You learned us good.
But most of it, of course, has been on, most of their success has been on their own, which will be the same for all you folks. And then, they're each gonna entertain some questions, so write down, I got what questions you submitted to me, and I know you all kept a copy for yourselves. And if you think of some questions you wanna ask that are not written down, that's fine. They'll call the shots, and then 5:15, we're done. So, having said that, Jean Marie, we're gonna start with you,
Fine.
please.
Hey all, my name is Jean Marie Cummings, and that's weird. I graduated in December of 2015. I currently work at the Convention and Visitors Bureau for our training program called Welcome to Memphis. I think a few of you have been through one of our classes, so that's fun. And I am the training program coordinator, so I make it all happen.
All right, I'm Michelle Ulrich. I graduated in 2012, so I'm getting old.
Gee.
You're like a year before me,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm a sales manager at the Westin downtown, and I'm over the Smurf market, so social, military, education, religious, and fraternal, and then throw in entertainment and athletics. So right now I'm crazy, chaotic, and busy working with all the entertainment groups for Music Fest coming up. So yeah, they're just now booking, so that's fun. And I think that's about it.
Cool. My name is Amanda Brewer. I graduated in 2010, so a couple years. And I'm actually at the Hilton corporate offices, and best way to describe what I do is I work for brand performance support, but really I run a support desk, aka we don't like to call it call center, but it could feel call center-ish, of about 21 team members that report up to me and another co-lead. And we actually support all of the calls and emails and now freshly chat, because we're cool, we have chat now, at least we think we are, of people that actually work at the hotel. So not guests that are staying at Hilton hotels, but actually the general managers are really our primary customers, owners. So if you own a hotel, management company representative, you could reach out to our team. And we'll really answer any questions that you might have about having a Hilton product. Anything from where do I order items within the hotel, what's the brand standard that I need to have in something, or to make sure I'm in compliance to be a Hilton. But really what we've been shifting to is we also want to be looked at as a partner in performance. So more importantly, how do we make sure that your hotel is profitable and that you're doing the steps that you need to at your hotel to drive revenue, and really just increase the overall performance, because when they increase their performance, that increases our profitability as a company at Hilton. So we have about 4,600 hotels, quickly growing to 5,000 that we currently support on our team.
All right, my name is Quentin Halliburton, and I work also at the Hilton corporate office. Our team is closely tied with Amanda's, where we support the hotel's revenue management systems. So I'm a support specialist for that team. There's only about 12 of us, so it's much smaller. We focus heavily on revenue, obviously, but driving any revenue growth. So we're always looking at initiatives to drive revenue, specifically for brands, targeting them at a time. And I graduated in May 2015. Any questions?
I'm gonna kick it off here. I've been busy scribbling. Quentin, since you just spoke, enlighten these folks. Of course, you all know because you all been here. This class, they're just getting tuned into the hospitality business.
What year is everybody?
Sophomore.
Okay. Freshman, there you
Junior.
go. What was
This
the
is a
question?
2,000 level class
Okay,
with a smattering of everybody else.
okay.
Tell the room about the Hilton brands, of which you have a whole bunch.
Yes.
And you and Amanda are in Memphis, and you are primarily, what do they call it now, select service or limited service or?
We
Focus
are,
service.
yeah, we support, so our teams, my team specifically supports focus service.
Focus
And
service.
all suites is what we call our categories within Hilton. But you guys probably know them as, Hampton Hotels, Hampton Inn and Suites, Home 2, you guys have Home 2, Homewood, Hilton Garden Inn Hotels. You guys ever heard of our newest brand, True Hotels? We're pretty proud of that one. And then also part of All Suites is Embassy Hotels. So that's actually just a segment of the Hilton Hotels. There's actually the luxury and full service category of brands that our team does not support. They have a separate BPS. And I'm speaking more for me because
No,
no,
yeah.
it's for you.
Our team, we support the revenue management systems for all hotels, so we get to handle like all the fun brands and all over, yeah, all of the, not the fun, whatever.
We're real fun.
The True is probably the funnest, and Hampton's
That's true.
obviously the funnest, but, we handle all limited or unlimited range of questions, and we get Chinese hotels a lot. But they, ask all kinds of questions. They have all kinds of cases that, is it truly something wrong with the revenue management system that our team supports, or is it something that they need to be doing in their performance, or, so we be all over the place.
And our team specifically, although we support those 6 brands within Hilton, they actually there's 13 brands within Hilton, the enterprise of Hilton. The full service ones that you probably are familiar with, we have Waldorf Astoria, is also part of the Hilton network. Conrad Hotels, full service Hiltons, and there's other like Curio and Canopy and these new brands that have come down the pipeline that I'm personally not as close to because I'm not supporting them from a BPS level. Those other brands, how they're different from how we are is that they have, each brand has a dedicated brand performance support team that they work with. And it's interesting because Hilton is like this one huge network. And the way I can describe it is like Memphis, right? You have the city of Memphis, and then you have all of these little cities within Memphis, or the towns within Memphis, right? You've got Cordova, you've got Germantown, you've got Midtown, you've got downtown. That's exactly what Hilton is like. Imagine each of those cities represents one of the brands, and all of them have their own type of infrastructure. Our team that we support, we like to think that we're innovative because we were really one of the first ones that says, hey, we have this support desk that we brand ourselves Brand Performance Support. Most of these brands, even though they're unique in nature, a lot of them need the same support. Like that was a kind of a moment where we had to say, we all like to say we're unique and we're special and each brand has their own culture and dynamic. But at the end of the day, if you're a GM at a hotel and you need to gain access to it, no matter what brand you're at Hilton or a revenue management system, they all kind of work the same way and we're all on the same system. So the support they need looks very similar no matter what brand. So we started off, I've been on the team for 6 years, and when we started, my team specifically was only supporting 3 of the brands within Hilton. But because our model has worked so well, and honestly you have a team that can support some of the same questions, why not branch off and have, when I started it was just Hampton and Hilton Garden Inn, and then we brought on Homewood, and then we brought on Home 2, then we brought on the other brands. And it's great because honestly, if I'm thinking, 2 years down the road, I imagine our team will support all the brands within the enterprise just because having that call center where somebody can call and get a question answered really quickly works really well when you have a team set in Memphis that's there to kind of pick up the phone and answer as soon as you need it, where the other BPS structures are very different because you might have one dedicated person, but they could be traveling and they do hotel visits and they'll go sit down with people, but they're harder to get a hold of. So yeah, I imagine that we'll take over the world very shortly.
So to take a step back and kind of brag on their team. Oh, yeah.
Could you're talking and I hear you,
Mhm.
but can you give an example of a problem that comes in and how it is handled, how you've trained, what trained personnel are there to help solve the problem, how quickly is your turnaround?
Those are great questions.
You're talking, but what
Absolutely.
are you doing?
You
Let
go
me put a
ahead.
little perspective on
Okay.
what our services are. It's a huge selling point if you're an owner or any ownership group that's looking at buying a hotel and either flagging it as a Hilton. You have such a renowned support group available for you, and that's part of your franchise fee that you pay to. So when they hear you've got a whole team of people ready to answer your front desk's questions or your general manager's questions or something like that, it's a huge selling point. But Amanda can speak to more of what their issues they deal with on a daily basis.
It's a really good question, and I'm super glad that you asked, because we have 21 team members that support, let's say on an average day, we probably get, I know we get anywhere from 350 calls to 400, let's just say on an average day. And that's actually calls and emails. I'm taking some liberties there. And primarily we want to hear from the hotel leader, but sometimes we have front desk team members, sometimes it could be housekeeping team members, maintenance team members that call in, and literally their questions run the gamut. It could be something like, I have this guest that's coming in that says that their dog that they brought with them is their ADA certified animal, and I'm at the front desk and I don't believe them. Right? I mean, like, that could be a question. But we have to put on our coaching hats as the brand and say, well, we got to make sure that as a hotel that you're in compliance with ADA ruling, and the ADA, we have to be knowledgeable about, hey, the ADA says you actually, per legal, you cannot ask anyone to show paperwork for that ADA animal. You have to believe because that is their ADA animal, their certified animal. And we have our team that's gone through ADA certification. That's just one very, very small example of the gamut of type of calls. A lot of them are guest situational. So I have this guest and they have a situation and I'm not sure how to deal with it. Can you help me understand, how I should deal with it? A lot of it is system access. So as you can imagine, around Hilton, there's so many type of systems that they need to gain access to. It could be a new general manager who just started his role and he has no idea where to access the report that shows how their hotel is performing that day.
Who, do you have a room of people sitting around answering the phone, or?
It looks like Google over there.
So when someone calls and they ask a question, do they have a script that they can go to? Or they're supposed to know 350 different answers?
So our onboarding process for a team member takes anywhere from 10 months to a year. If that tells you anything. We have a dedicated team member that's dedicated just to our team that ramps up those team members. So imagine you walk in on your first day and we say, what's your name? I'm sorry. What's your name?
Deidre?
Idra. I'd be like, hey Idra, here's literally how we call it how to ace advice, because that's what we call, we're the advice team. And I literally hand you a manual that says, here is your 10-month process on how to ace advice, and here's your dedicated person that's going to be with you along the way to get you ramped up on all the topics that we support. So going back to that, although yes, each brand is unique, what people call about is the same, and while yes, it's a lot of it is things that you can be trained on, and it really is about being resourceful. So a lot of the people that we hire, we're very intentional with people that love to learn. You have to have a passion for learning, and you have to be someone that's adaptable to change. So one thing about our environment, and it is fast moving and it is ever changing. And the minute that you learn something, you better be prepared that it's going to change 2 weeks from now. And that can be frustrating for some people that aren't used to being in that type of environment, right? Where you like to learn something and be able to live in it for a little while before it changes. Our
Once you
team
get
is
one system now,
right.
They want to grow on to the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and it's just one of those that we do that in order to stay innovative, but it can be very frustrating when you're a team that has to provide support. So hopefully, did I answer your question?
Not quite.
Okay.
No, what you just said, that you hire people, so you screen them before you send.
Absolutely.
You screen them, right?
Absolutely.
And you test them for various qualities and traits, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when they come in, they're ready to go.
Mhm.
And you give them a book of commonly asked questions?
It's not commonly asked questions, it's topics that we're gonna train you on over the course of a 10-month period where you have a dedicated person. And that training looks like webinars, online courses, in-person connects, something we call teach backs, where I would give you something, you'd have to learn it, and then you'd have to come back and teach it back to me to ensure that not only do you understand it, but do you have the capability to actually explain it back to someone, because that's really what we need.
Because you know, it's so often nowadays when you call a hotel or anything else, just put your number in and oh, hello, I'm glad you're here. My name is Marie and I'm here to help you. You know, so you're a human. You're humans, right?
Absolutely.
And I will brag on them a little, because now I'm with, Marriott, Starwood, but I was a director of sales for Homewood Suites a couple of years ago, and so I got to work with their team. And they're real people. They're just as friendly as Amanda is. Every time I've had to call, they were super quick. So now with Marriott, it's a little bit more international, or that's where all of their call centers are based. So it's a lot more difficult because of language barriers and call times and wait times and all that.
And I want you to know that
they're
I'm
very
still
quick.
friends with Michelle even though she works for the competition. So let's just get that real clear.
Just build a big Hilton
I
hotel
know,
downtown. That would be
we
great.
need to.
Tell us about,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you have any specific questions on being a sales manager or my markets, my hotel?
Well, Michelle, just start with a big picture and narrow it down. You're at property level.
Yes, I am.
So you're the person that's picking up the phone and calling Amanda and Quentin,
Yes,
if they were all the same company.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Marriott's got a version of that.
They do for sure.
And you've got a specific market segment that you're responsible for,
Mhm,
and specific sales goals, revenue goals.
mhm.
So you're out working accounts, beating the bushes, knocking on doors, working the phones.
Exactly. So I'll start broad. I'm at a Westin hotel, so that's Starwood and now Marriott branded. Marriott now owns Starwood. So there's been a lot of changes going on branding because each brand has a different identity, basically, different viewpoints, things that we all have to follow. So that's been an interesting process, although they are keeping the Westin brand very much the same as how it was before. There's just different things that we're slowly switching over to, like different computer systems, different point systems, kind of explaining all of this to our guests and our customers and clients. So that's kind of an overview on the brand, just a little bit on what's going on currently. We're a 203 room property. We're 4-star, 4 diamond, so there's certain things that we have to do to keep that up. We have over, 9,000 square feet of meeting space, so we do a lot of group business that have meetings attached. More specifically, I'm in the sales department. So I have my director of sales who's above me, or above the team, kind of leading everybody. Then we have a sales coordinator that's answering all the phones, coordinating all the emails out to everyone, basically doing anything and everything. And we'll put in a side note, we're hiring a new sales manager, or a new coordinator to replace the one we have. She's great, but she's moving to Texas. So if anyone knows of anyone graduating soon, we're looking to hire around June. So tidbit on the side. Anyway, from that position, we have 2 sales managers. One is over corporate. She's been at the hotel for 10 years, so she's really great to work with. Just bouncing ideas off of her. Then there's me, and like I said, I'm the Smurf Market. And then we also have a director of catering who handles like social business, local stuff, and she'll service groups. So that's kind of an overview, but that doesn't actually really tell you anything about what I do. I think if I told that to myself 6 years ago, I would have no idea. So day to day, basically, we have a sales meeting every morning at 8:30 to kind of discuss what we're doing. And throughout the day, I will go on outside sales calls to meet with potential clients. I'll go to like community events, like if Jean Marie's hosting something for the CVB. I think I ran into you, where was it, at the Brooks Museum recently. So go to local things like that. And then I'll answer a lot of incoming inquiries from different systems like Cvent, Tour Connection, things like that. So basically, I'm getting a request from a meeting planner or a direct client. They're telling me what their needs are, so like specific dates, how many rooms they want, what catering events they need, the meeting space that they need. And then I'll just look in our system, see if we have availability, enter rates, and then from there, they'll come back to me and negotiate, say they can do our rate, but they can't do our food and beverage minimum on how much they'd spend on our catering. So I just negotiate back and forth what works well with the property and for the client as well. So,
Do you
Go
have to
ahead.
have particular computer skills in what you're doing? Or do you, on the left side where you have your topics, do you
Mhm.
click on that and then go into there? Because from what I'm hearing is that they're calling you, but
Mhm.
there's so many arms to the hotel business.
Mhm.
When they call, they don't get you direct, right? They'll call somebody
Yeah.
who will.
yes,
So how-
definitely.
the
So if we have an
basic-
incoming call, it'll go to our coordinator and she will take down all the information on basically the inquiry for what our potential client wants. Then she'll assign it to the correct sales manager.
There,
Mhm.
that's it.
And then from there, like I said, we'll get online requests. Our director of sales she's over the system. The main one is Cvent. So it's just an online base, and she will assign which market and which sales manager those inquiries go to. And so yes, it's all, you definitely have to be computer savvy, because like Amanda said, it's always changing, and especially now that we're a part of Marriott, we're having to adapt all of their systems, which are not always the most user-friendly, but it is what it is. So, you know, we have to work with it, and the faster you can learn and get into it, the faster you can, you know, help clients out. So definitely hands-on is needed.
Your turn.
Well, let's, any other hotel questions
Yeah.
before we move to Jean Marie? Any
I used to
hotel?
work in a hotel. Like,
We actually got to work together.
Yeah, I was the sales coordinator at the Westin for a year-ish. I moved up in the Westin a little bit.
You started at front desk?
I
and
started
then
at front
experience
desk, and then I moved to Westin Experience Specialist. So I took care of all of the platinum and gold VIP guests. And then I wanted to not work on the weekends, and so I decided to go up to sales, and quickly learned that that was not for me. I belonged down at the front desk with a lot of people all the time and a lot of movement. So I went back down as a supervisor. So I was there for about 2 years, and I held 44 positions. And I still help out every once in a while during NBA season and whenever I feel like it.
Now, give us the big picture of what the CVB is and does.
So the CVB is the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we are basically the hub for tourism and hospitality in Memphis. So we have about an 8 to 9 person sales team, and that's not including our 2 people who are abroad. We've got Chris Ingram in Australia and New Zealand, and he sells Memphis in those 2 countries, and then he's stationed there. Yeah, he is from there. He lives there.
Yeah.
He has the
He's the
accent and
coolest guy
everything.
ever. And then, oh gosh.
David Nicholson.
Yes, thank you. Is in the UK. There are a lot of things to remember. But they all go out on sales calls to different cities and states and countries and bring people to Memphis. So when you see the Cotton Ginners, they could go anywhere in the world, sort of, but they choose to come to Memphis because they like us a lot. When you see anybody who is having a conference here, like we just had the American Book Association here, didn't know that that was a thing, but they rented out the convention center and they loved it. So we host all of those people. We make sure that we're selling Memphis. I don't do that, but that's what the CVB does. So what I do is I take everybody who works in a hospitality industry place, hotel, restaurant, association, attraction, retail, y'all, anybody who is involved in the hospitality industry, and I train them on how to know, share, and love Memphis. So our biggest thing is that we want y'all to know and tell your guests we want you to know Memphis, so we want to show you all of the good things that Memphis has to offer, where things are. We do some customer service soft skills, so we want you to know all that so that you can share it with your guests and you can give them the Memphis experience that you enjoy as well, and then everybody can love Memphis all together. And that's
Love
just,
it.
it's a lot of fun. It was nice to have worked in a hotel for a little while before I went on to this job, because now I am the only one on my team of 2 who worked at a hotel in my roles. And so I know what people are asking, and I can kind of manipulate our curriculum to what needs to be said or done in a specific class.
And your training's a service that cities can pay for, companies can pay for?
Yes, so if you're a member of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, if your company is, then it's free to you. Well, our first training is, but then we're gonna ask for some money. But then, if you are not a CVB member, then it costs for the first initial training, our first impressions training. But we work things out with different companies, and we are currently going through a few different meetings with AutoZone and MATA, and possibly the airport after a meeting today, which is really exciting, to have training for all of their onboards. So let's say you get hired at the airport, you're gonna come to one of our trainings before you actually start, so that you can know, share, and love Memphis with everybody that you come in contact with. And it's a lot of fun. It's really cool.
I needed that whenever I was downtown. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's only 2
know.
years old, so we're
It's
still, we're still
cool.
a baby.
That's
But,
awesome.
but we've
Love
trained
that.
almost 3,500 people. We just trained, and it's about to grow a lot because we just trained the trainers for Memphis in May. So when they go and train all of their volunteers, that would have grown by 20,000 people, I think. So it's a lot of people. So it's exciting, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool and sometimes really interesting and funny to see, you know, somebody's lived here their entire life, but everyone always says if you live in East Memphis or Germantown, you don't go past Highland, and if you live in Midtown or downtown, you don't go past Highland. I live in Germantown and work downtown, and people think I'm crazy, but I love it.
You go downtown every day.
I go downtown
Oh, wow.
every day. It's a wonderful, just little zen moment, because that 30-minute drive is just fantastic.
Wow.
40, you know.
Yeah, but people have lived their entire lives, and we'll show videos. We've got an online system called Welcome You, which is our Welcome University, and so it's got all of these videos about the different neighborhoods in Memphis that you can go and watch and learn all of the food, fun things to do, the retail, the family fun, the attractions, all this cool stuff in every neighborhood in Memphis. So we've got one on Broad Avenue, and then we were training the banquet staff here actually. And this lady was like, I've lived here my entire life. I didn't know that was a street. And then she was like, I've got to go. I've got to take my kids to this. I've got to go to this with my husband. I've got to. And she was just so excited to, one, know more about her own city, but two, to go and experience it. And my favorite part of what we do is that when you take our First Impressions class, we give you a pass that's worth $700, and it gives you access into every attraction in Memphis except for the Palace, for free. And you can take you and a friend. What?
So you still send a bitter about that? Like they
Oh my
they're
gosh,
honest.
it's a struggle. It is such a struggle. It's because ours is all electronic, and they are not. So we're hoping.
2018.
Yeah, we're trying to get that worked out. But when you take our class, if anyone is in Inna's class Tuesday, hey girl, I'll see you on Tuesday. Then y'all will get the pass, and I think some of you, Eduardo, I know you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you have it. Yeah, that's right. So they get to go to all of the attractions for free on us, and you get to take a friend with you, and it's a super fun thing. So come to our class.
And the reason that helps, like hoteliers, things like people like that, is because it makes it so we can better help our guests. So that way, if someone asks you a question, you're not just like, well, look online. You can actually speak to what they're asking
Yeah, I
about.
wish-
So it helps all of us, really.
I wish I had that. I moved
Yeah.
to Memphis and started working in Peabody, and it's like, I didn't
All
know
these
anything.
Where should we
Yeah,
go for dinner?
exactly.
And you're like,
Let's
let me
let's
look on
Google
the
it.
We have a
Yeah.
restaurant in the hotel.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you sell Memphis in schools or civic organizations or churches? Do your people go out or they have to come to you?
We do have a Smurf market, and people do come to us sometimes. And usually what will happen is, people will go on sales calls or missions or whatever, to go and sell the city of Memphis. So if they see that this organization is needing to have a conference, or it's vice versa as well, if they say, we're having a conference in 2020, we're looking at Philadelphia, Chicago, Memphis, and St. Louis, tell me why I need to come to Memphis. So it can be anything. Kojic left Memphis, we all know that. Kojic is coming back to Memphis.
Is that definite?
Are they?
Working on it for like 2 years now.
Oh,
It's definite.
Jean Marie's working it.
I'm all about it. Bring it. No, I'm not doing that. I will sell it.
Talk
I'll
about
just
how much
tell
money it brings into the city, though.
yes.
Yeah,
Right?
Memphis,
Oh, it's crazy.
tourism visitors that come to Memphis bring $3.3 billion to Memphis a year, every single year. And so it's a lot of money, and you don't think about that. 11.5 million people come to Memphis every year as well. And when they come, Memphis was a 2-night, 3-day destination, but now it's a 3-day, 4-night destination. So they're spending more and more money. And that 3.3 billion is growing every year, which is very exciting. So stay in this business, because I think the statistic is 1 out of 6 people in the hospitality industry is going to make 6 figures in their life.
And I will say that's why we're building a fabulous Hilton Garden Inn located downtown, to capture some of that additional.
Are you okay?
They're having a party, don't they?
Oh,
They're good.
yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to capture some of that additional
Yes, you will.
When is that opening, by the way? It's had to sign up for months.
Yes, I think it's like 6, probably 10 months.
And the Curio as well.
And curious,
They
yeah.
just started working on Central Station, isn't it?
Yeah. it's gonna be
How are you all
awesome.
doing with the influx of the new business model of Airbnb? How are you all responding to that? How is it affecting your revenue?
The
Bottom line.
CBB hates it, I will say that.
Yeah, because there's not.
Because
tax on it.
there's not a tax on it.
Oh, yeah, it is now.
There is now, but it's not directly to the city,
We
because
have-
it's to an individual.
Yeah.
Really?
It's not a,
And we have a $2 tourism, basically.
Yes,
tax,
so the
which
two-
goes towards our convention center.
Yeah, so I don't know if does anybody work in a hotel? Okay, so if you noticed in 2016, if you were working in a hotel, January 1 of 2016, there was a $2 bed tax added to every single room per night. And we didn't know, I was at the hotel when that happened, and we had no idea. We just had to say it's a city tax, we have no idea. That actually is paying for the remodel of the convention center.
Which is happening.
It's happening,
soon,
supposed to
right?
break ground, they were supposed to break ground March 18th, but some things got mixed up, and so it's gonna be in the next month. But, it's coming, and it's gonna be great. But it's gonna be 2019 or 2020 now, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't even remember the date.
It was all in the paper, but we don't ever read the paper, right? Yeah. But that bed tax paid for the convention center, and it was supposed to be a $60 million renovation, and it's $117 million because of that bed tax.
And I can tell you, like, Chris Nacetta, who's our CEO of Hilton, he speaks about this. Like, every quarterly call we have, or any type of team meeting, someone asks this question about what's Hilton doing to compete with this Airbnb world. And he usually gives 2 responses. He'll say they're in their own niche and that we're not trying to compete with them, and that we're focused on creating brands that make sense for certain markets and certain customers. I would give a real answer to that, not saying his isn't, but I will say that our launch of the True brand is probably the closest competition to an Airbnb. when, and I don't know how much you guys know about the True brand, but it is a lower price point. So, yep, well, it's cheaper than your
It's not
average
cheap, it's
Hampton.
expensive.
Like right now, we have 50 hotels that are in a construction phase for True. And the reason why is because it's a lot cheaper to build from an owner perspective. And the way that it works is that it's a smaller room. It's bigger public spaces. Because we know that people that stay at Airbnb, they don't necessarily stay there for the room itself. It's usually the experience outside of the room or the community feel or the, so if you've gone into a True, it's really bright colors. We call it's for the millennial mindset, as we know that most millennials tend to go towards the Airbnb concept. And the price point, I mean, that's most time why we get asked that question, right? It's like, you know, you can get an Airbnb for $50 a night and you have to go down the street to a Hampton, who used to be our lowest price point for Hilton. You know, your average Hampton right now, if you go to Memphis, I mean, downtown, it's $189, maybe $215, depending on what's going on in the city. That's high price point for a Hampton. Even if you go out to a rural market for a Hampton, you're looking at $130 a night. And we know that when you add taxes to that, it's going to be $150, and that's pretty hefty for a one-night stay at a hotel. An Airbnb, you can get it for $50. Your average Hampton right now is at an 80 to 80. You might actually even have better stats than I do, but I think the average is like $85 a night, which includes breakfast, wireless internet, pretty fancy dig. So if you haven't checked out a True, we have one in Murfreesboro, right outside of Nashville. And it's pretty sweet.
Great market for it because it's a ton of students who, a lot of people are going to look at the school and tour it and stuff.
I think also with the Airbnb, sorry.
Go right ahead.
No, I think with the Airbnb thing as well, though, there are going to be people. I enjoy Airbnb
Yeah.
because it's cheap, but also I like to stay in a hotel. So there are always going to be people who want to stay in a hotel over someone else's house
Yeah.
because it can just be kind of weird. But I'm a millennial and I like a $50 room because
Yeah.
it's cheap.
And that's kind of what Chris, like every time he addresses it, he'll say, Airbnb has their own target market that they're going after that us at Hilton we're not interested in. There are always going to be people that are interested in Airbnbs, and we're just going to continue to focus on building brands to meet each of those millennials, whatever the new thing that's coming down the pipeline is. It's kind of like we're focusing on, yes, we want to be competitive in that nature, but we're never going to have $50 rooms. So it's like, why, you know what I mean? We're never going to be a hotel chain that's going to have $50 rooms. Now, we'll have $89 rooms, and we'll try to take some of those concepts that millennials find that appeals to them from an Airbnb perspective and try to apply it in the hotel world. But to your point, like for me, and I am still a millennial, but
Yeah.
I love to have my room made up. You know, I would typically most time, unless I'm traveling with a large group of girls where it just makes more sense financially to get an Airbnb,
Right.
I'm going to choose a hotel every time because I like to be able to, like, I like
the service.
I like
Yeah.
the service part of it. But, and again, it's everybody, you're going to have some people that enjoy to go one way and another person that goes
And
another.
more people are traveling because it's becoming more inexpensive.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so
They have 92,000 hotels worldwide
Mhm.
in 162 countries.
Mhm.
And you're saying that we're not bothered, they have their niche.
I mean-
They're
Yeah.
it affects, revenue, but
Totally.
we just have we have all kinds of new initiatives for pricing. We have a new pricing structure called customer centric pricing.
Yep.
And that's focused towards your individual price. So that's what we're gonna market towards you and no one else. So that's one way we're kind of combating the loss of all these room nights that Airbnb may be stealing from us or not.
And to your point, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a loss of business within the market to Airbnb. Like, I think it's more of the approach that we're taking is let's stay focused on brands that we feel like can grasp certain types of, millennials is like generations, but different type of guests. And they're doing that with like Curio, because like Curio has a certain, with the boutique type of hotels. So yeah, but he always addresses it the same way. And that's kind of what I go to, is that we focus on innovation. So like, I think digital key is one of the things that we're always looking for. How do we increase our technology? We're having this new thing too called Innovative Room, or Digital Room is what we're calling it, where you pretty much can control everything in the room from your cell phone. You know, opening the door with your cell phone, controlling the lights, controlling the TV, controlling the shades. And it's just, that's kind of where, if you think about when we have these meetings with our CEO, that's what we're focused on. It's about what new brands are we launching, how do we get owners, because that's really the key to our success is owners. And they're really the ones where when we create a new brand, it's about going out to them and having them invest their dollars into our franchises. And that's how we make money.
We also have a strong, for Hilton, we have a strong loyalty program
Yeah.
that seems to be bringing people back. The numbers can prove that, but right now, there's no such thing with that with Airbnb. I'm sure there will be later, but
Yeah.
You just don't know.
There's also just,
You just don't know what's
so
waiting for you.
if
Go
you
ahead.
look at what Memphis just hosted, the MLK 50, Airbnb, yes, is taking over, but it's not, because every single hotel in Memphis was sold out.
Yeah.
And we hosted, I don't even know how many people.
And if
But
you get a group
Memphis-
of 50
but
different
Memphis in the
individuals.
last
Yeah.
year, just
Not
the
too
last year, had an 80% rise in the amount of people who were, using the Airbnb. And at 80%, there's only 430 actual buildings or homes or whatever. But as more and more people get on board, and as we all know, whenever there's a new business model, somebody's gonna abuse it. Somebody's gonna fall along the wayside. So there are some hotels, maybe the Motel 6 or something like that, may go out of business because, they don't have the rooms.
Right.
But Airbnb is state-of-the-art because it's a website.
I think you may be thinking more of just the transient market, and honestly, with a lot of hotels, especially ours, we're over 50% group. So that's 10 or more rooms. So you're not gonna, say if you have a corporate meeting of like 100 people coming in, you're not gonna book everyone in an Airbnb because there's not one contact to work with. There's not meeting space, there's not food and beverage, banquets, all of that. So it really, transient is a big deal in leisure, but really group, and for full service hotels anyway, group and meetings and banquets, that's all part of it. So it might be hurting us, like you said, on the transient side.
Yeah.
But in general, there's still the group sales, there's still meeting space, there's different forms of revenue.
Good point.
In the time we got left, and remember, if you folks have questions, raise your hand. Quentin, if you'd start, would you do anything differently?
yes.
And get to where you are, and do you have any recommendations for these folks?
Yeah, absolutely. First, take every opportunity to try public speaking, because if you can't tell, I'm not good at it. So if being a student, like, you have an excuse to go out and do that, and also being a student, you have an excuse to ask stuff from people, like your general manager, ask for an internship, and they'll be created. You have way more leniency because you get to play the I'm a student card.
I'm learning.
Use it.
Yeah, absolutely use it. And you can get really cool opportunities. Like, you can just go up to somebody and say, hey, I'd like to shadow you. I'd like to shadow the concessions director at the concessions director at the FedEx Forum. And then they might be up for that, and just see what it's about. Recommendations? Going back to the tech savvy part, you definitely want to not sleep on MIS classes. You want to take advantage of Excel and Access. If you really, any job now, you're gonna need to know that to really help out. But also programming languages, that's the future. So if you can learn anything like or in database management. So if you can learn SQL, there's Python, there's also SQL PL. There's a lot of languages, but if you can just get into that, and like, there's all kinds of YouTube videos, and there's all kind of resources out there for free. If you're into that type of stuff, I'm not gonna say it's for everybody, but I will say in the future, coming a lot sooner than we'd expect, there's a large majority of jobs will be needing those type of skills. So, yeah, I'd say get into that. But also, the last tidbit of knowledge or advice, if you're not working in a hotel, work in a hotel before you graduate. And then whenever you graduate, you'll have that experience under your belt and you'll stand out amongst everybody else that's just graduated and hasn't worked in a hotel, or at least have that experience. So.
Same question, Amanda?
So things I would have done different, I would have spent more time, I would have taken a foreign language and really be able to speak it. Like I think about to this day, how, not necessarily how much farther, but how much more beneficial it would be if I could speak Spanish or if I could speak French or any. I know like right now when we hire people for my team, the last 4 hires, it was like that was one that would have trumped any type of college degree. I'm like, we need someone that speaks Spanish because we have such a large demand and development in the LATAM, or now we're calling CALA, I don't know if you heard that, regions, because we're Hilton, we're a global company. We're not just in Memphis and we're not just in the U.S. We're looking at how do we have huge development in China. We're actually taking people and moving them to China to run a support desk similar to what I'm like, gosh, if I could just speak Mandarin, right? Like, what about some cool opportunities? And I just think that for me, if I would have spent more time in that area whenever I was in school, it could have opened up a lot more opportunities within Hilton to do some really cool stuff and to travel. And if you speak the language, they'll send you there. You can work in New Zealand and, whatever, wherever, and do a lot of cool work with Hilton, because that's the good thing about hotels is we want them anywhere people are. And we want them to choose us. I think you had really good recommendations. I think mine is more about, to your point I was going to share, if it's okay if you don't want to work in a hotel. Can I just say that? Because hospitality, no, you're fine. I say that because for me, I didn't even know what I wanted to do whenever I was in hospitality school. I literally picked hospitality because I knew what I didn't want to do, and I've always loved people. Like, I have a genuine appreciation for people, and I have a curiosity for people. And someone said, you do pretty good in hospitality, and I love working the front desk, so I got a job at a hotel. But I would just say go out and explore other areas of hospitality, because it's not just about the Hiltons, and it's not just about hotel world. There's event planning, F&B, and see which area of it that you feel the most passionate about and where you feel like your natural abilities and strengths as a person plays for you, right? And you'll feel it once you're in there, when you're like, this is what I'm good at, right? This is what we call a strength. And play to that, because that's where you're going to be most happy, and that's also where you're going to see yourself naturally grow and advance in that type of career when it's a strength of yours. Because people will see that, notice it, and work won't feel so much like work. And then I would just say your attitude is everything. I will admit that I'm fairly young, and I still to this day feel very privileged to be a director at Hilton, and to have a team and still be in my early 30s. I think, to me, it's a personal accomplishment that I'm really proud of. And to this day, I think it's because I've had the ability to keep a really positive attitude and be very flexible to change and keep that positive attitude along the way and be open and receptive to whatever I need to do to challenge myself to learn, challenge myself to bring my best every day no matter what situation I am. I honestly say that has served me very, very well. And so keeping a positive attitude and putting yourself up for challenges and just seeing where your strengths are, I think that will serve you well no matter what area you end up in the hospitality industry.
Michelle.
I love what you said about the positive attitude, because let's be honest, there's a lot of positions in hotels that are not super glamorous. You might start out in housekeeping, you might start out at the front desk. Not always the most glamorous position, so if you have a great attitude, it's really noticed and it keeps you positive. And that being said, if you are starting out in housekeeping or front desk or anything like that, make sure your direct supervisor or manager knows, and even probably your general manager knows what your goals are. Even try to set up, maybe if you could set up coffee with them, something like that, just so they know what your goals are. And I wouldn't do it just once when you first start. I would do it several times throughout a year, just so they can know who you are, what you're about, what you're interested in, what you're looking to do with your career. Because with that, they can find what suits you. They can let you know when positions are open, keep you in mind, and
It's
things
not
like
weird.
that.
'cause you're
Right.
I used to be so afraid to go up to like,
Yes.
my general manager and be like, just,
I know, but
They'd
they're just
probably be
people.
really impressed. Be like,
Yeah.
hey, can we go grab coffee and talk about whatever
Right.
I
Yeah.
see myself in the
Yeah.
next 30, 60,
Right.
90 days? Right, that'd be awesome.
Being assertive isn't necessarily a bad thing as long
Yeah.
as you do it in a friendly way.
Awesome.
And then, let's see, I feel like I had something else. I kind of got sidetracked. Yeah, that's really the main thing, is just make sure you keep your eyes on the prize. You're not necessarily going to start out as a sales manager or as a director.
Mhm.
There's going to be some work, some grueling going into it. And that being said, also just make sure you're connected with your professors here too, because Memphis, the hospitality community, it's small. We see each other at pretty much everything, right? So if you're interested in a position, or if you're looking for a new position in the work world, it's definitely easy to network. And that being said, when you're in school, you're seeing these professors every day. So if there's someone you want to shadow, like the FedEx forum, like you were saying, I bet your professors have a connection that can set that up for you. So
one of my professors got the job I'm in now. Got me the job I'm in now.
Yeah.
Does anyone know Susie Zane? Is she still teaching?
Say again?
Susie,
Well, I was gonna ask you that, if anyone in here has had Susie's yield management class.
well,
that might
she-
be my
She's
role.
here.
Streetcar class,
She is
like
here.
6-month interview or however long the class
Yeah.
was. And that's what I did, and that's how I got the job after I graduated. So.
If you haven't taken it, I think it's Wednesday nights.
5:30 to 8.
Susie is from Hilton, and it's yield management, which is very important to everything nowadays. Started with the airlines, it's morphed into hotels, car rental does it. It's how to increase revenue, maximum use of space. So it's I don't know if it's mandatory or not, but if you haven't taken it, you should. Jean Marie, give us your words of wisdom.
I have so many. I'm so many. Things I would do differently. I would get a job earlier in the hotel. I got a job I got an internship the summer of my senior year, like before my senior year started, which got me the job at the Westin. I interned at the CVB. My boss at the CVB heard that the Westin needed people, and that's how I got my job there. But I wasn't even like looking for a job, but I would have looked for a job earlier, because I might have been able to move up even more, or do some other things. I also don't know what else I would do differently.
that's a hard question.
It's a
you
hard
learn from
question.
every mistake you make,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Part of me was like, I wouldn't do anything.
I did
Yeah.
everything yesterday.
I would network more. I've learned that I would have networked more. Because networking is, like Michelle said, it's a really small industry here in Memphis. Everybody knows everybody,
I
and
mean, the
so
hospitality industry's super small anyway.
It's super small
because
anyway,
it seems
yeah.
like everybody knows someone.
And I do recognize networking, honestly, like we say it a lot, but how many of you actually enjoy it? Does anybody in here actually like, ooh, I want to go to this networking event so I can talk to people that I don't know and approach them out of
Never
nowhere?
met.
I still hate
Right?
it.
Do you still hate
I
it?
still hate it.
Yeah,
so
and I think it's okay
frustrating.
to talk about that for a second. Like, it's not like, I can't wait to go to this networking
Optimism.
event. I don't know you guys, but I'm gonna come here and try to strike up a conversation about the weather. I mean, it's real uncomfortable. Like, we get it.
And another thing that makes that easier, maybe invite a friend to go with you.
Yes. So just recognize that networking is never fun, but it's, well, sometimes depending on how many cocktails you've had, so be careful with that. But, right? Like after a couple, you're like, this networking thing isn't so bad, right? Yeah, so I would just say, just grit your teeth and bear it and have a couple
Yeah.
drinks. Best advice today.
Yeah.
With pretty much everything.
Any questions, any more questions for these nice folks? Well, let's thank them.
I do want to hand out some